The moment he said the words, my chest went hollow. I am done, Claire. His voice was steady, almost rehearsed, as if he had been waiting for the perfect moment to rip my heart apart. He did not shout. He did not cry. He just looked at me like I was a stranger, like 10 years of marriage meant nothing. I did not scream back. I did not beg. I simply walked out, silently, because I knew if I stayed, my rage would destroy both of us. Before I share what happened next, I want to thank every single one of you who takes the time to listen to these real, raw stories of life, betrayal, and redemption. Your likes, comments, and shares mean the world to me. If you have ever been blindsided by someone you trusted, please share your story in the comments. Subscribe so you do not miss the next chapters, because this one will burn slow, and it will burn hot. I remember the cold December wind cutting across my cheeks as I stepped outside. My boots crunched against the frosted grass, and the night air felt sharper than the words he had just thrown at me. I did not even grab a coat. I walked past our mailbox, past the Christmas lights he had half-heartedly strung up last week, and kept going until I reached the end of the block. My mind was not blank, it was loud. Thoughts screamed over each other. Why now? What did I do? Who is she? Because there is always a she in these stories. Men do not just get done without something, or someone, pushing them. I found myself standing outside the small corner bar we used to visit when we were dating. The neon sign buzzed. The warm glow inside was a stark contrast to the ice in my veins. I pushed open the door, and the smell of whiskey and old wood swallowed me whole. Claire? That you? The voice came from the far end of the counter. It was Jake, an old friend from high school. He had aged well, too well. His jaw was still sharp, his eyes still held that reckless glint, and his voice was still deep enough to rattle something inside me. It is me, I said, sliding onto the stool beside him. We talked, at first, about nothing, how long it had been, where life had taken us. But Jake was not blind. He saw the storm behind my eyes. You look like you just left something burning behind you, he said, sipping his drink. I did, I replied. My marriage. His brow furrowed, but there was no pity, just curiosity. What happened? He said he was done. No warning. No reason. I paused, then added, yet. Jake leaned closer, his cologne wrapping around me. Then maybe it is time you get done with him too. In every possible way. There was something dangerous in his tone. Something tempting. And I was in the perfect storm of hurt, rage, and desire to let it pull me under. We ended up in the back booth, tucked away from prying eyes. My fingers trembled as I wrapped them around my glass, not from the alcohol, but from the electricity between us. I should have gone home. I should have sat in my car and cried. But instead, I let him talk me into another drink. Does he know what he is throwing away? Jake asked, his eyes holding mine like a dare. I do not think he cares, I said softly. Then make him care, he replied. I knew what he meant. And in that dimly lit corner, with the shadows crawling across Jake's face, I wanted to. When Jake drove me back, I expected him to stop at my driveway. He did not. He took me to his apartment. The elevator ride was silent, except for the sound of my own breathing, quick, shallow, betraying the war inside me. The moment we stepped inside, he closed the door and turned to face me. His eyes searched mine, as if asking one final time if I was certain. I was. The kiss was not gentle. It was hard, almost violent, the way two people collide when they are both trying to erase someone else from their skin. His hands gripped my waist, pulling me closer, and I felt the heat of his body against mine. Claire, he whispered against my neck, let him know what he lost. I did not think. I did not stop. I let the pain morph into something darker, something hotter. Hours later, I lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, my body humming but my mind still restless. I had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. and strangely, I did not regret it. Not yet. But as I reached for my phone, a new message lit up the screen. It was from my husband. Just 5 words, "We need to talk. Now." My stomach twisted. He knew. Or maybe he had something else to confess. Either way, I was about to find out. The message glared at me from my phone screen, "We need to talk. Now." I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. My body was still warm from Jake's touch, but my mind was already spiraling back toward the man who had pushed me into this moment. Jake stirred beside me, his arm lazily draped across my waist. "You do not have to go," he murmured. "Yes, I do," I said, untangling myself from him. I could not let my husband see me like this, not with my hair tangled and my lipstick smudged from someone else's mouth. I dressed quickly, the guilt and adrenaline mixing in a cocktail I could barely swallow. By the time I left Jake's apartment, the air outside had gone bitter cold. My breath came out in clouds as I hurried to my car. When I walked through the front door of our home, the lights were low. My husband, Ethan, was sitting at the kitchen table, a half-empty glass of bourbon in front of him. He looked up at me, and his eyes were darker than I had ever seen them. "Where have you been?" His voice was low, controlled, but the tension underneath could have snapped steel. I could have lied. I could have said I went for a walk, went to see a friend, anything. But I was past the point of protecting his feelings. "Out," I said flatly. His jaw clenched. "Out where, Claire? At midnight? After I told you I was done?" I pulled out the chair across from him and sat down, keeping my eyes locked on his. "You want the truth? Or do you want the version that makes you feel better?" His silence told me everything. He wanted the truth. "I was with someone," I said. My voice did not shake. Someone who actually looked at me like I mattered. The glass in his hand stilled. "You mean you?" He cut himself off, swallowing hard. "Yes," I said. "I slept with him." For a moment, Ethan did not move. His face was unreadable, as if he was trying to decide whether to laugh, rage, or break down. Then he stood, shoving the chair back so hard it scraped across the floor. "You did not even wait a day," he said, his voice sharp with disbelief. "Not even a single damn day. You told me you were done," I shot back. "You made the choice to end us. I just finished the funeral." He paced the kitchen like a caged animal, running his hands through his hair. "You think that makes you the bigger person? You think revenge sex erases what we had?" I almost laughed. "What we had? Ethan, what we had was over long before tonight. You checked out months ago. I just did not want to admit it." He stopped pacing, his back to me. "You have no idea why I said I was done." "Then tell me," I challenged. When he turned to face me, his expression had shifted. There was something softer in his eyes now, but it was not forgiveness. It was something like pity. "I said I was done," he began slowly, "because I found out something about you. Something from before we got married." My stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" He leaned against the counter, folding his arms. 2 weeks ago, I ran into Mark. Remember Mark? Your ex before me? The name made my skin prickle. "Yes. He told me that the night before our wedding, you went to see him. And that you did not just go to talk." The room spun. My mouth went dry. That night had been a mistake, a stupid, fleeting moment of weakness I had buried so deep I almost believed it never happened. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to call him a liar. But Ethan's eyes told me he already knew the truth. "So tell me, Claire," he said coldly, "was tonight really revenge? Or was it just the real you showing again?" The accusation cut deeper than I expected. I had come here ready to be angry, ready to own my choices. But this dragged a piece of my past I never wanted exposed right into the present. I stood, my hands trembling with a mix of fury and fear. If you want to throw the past in my face, fine. But do not pretend you were some perfect husband. Who is she, Ethan? Because there is always a she. His lips pressed into a thin line. You do not want that answer. I stepped closer, my voice lowering. Oh, I do. Because if you think you get to shame me without owning your own dirt, you are dead wrong. Ethan stared at me for a long moment, then exhaled slowly. Her name is Alyssa. And she has been in my bed for months. The words hit like a slap, but they also made something inside me settle. Finally, the truth. Finally, no more pretending. Then we are even, I said. And now we can burn this whole damn thing to the ground. But as I turned to leave, Ethan's next words froze me in place. She is pregnant, Claire. The words kept echoing in my skull like a drumbeat I could not silence. I stared at him, the air between us so heavy I could barely breathe. Say it again, I whispered. He did. Slower this time, like he was savoring the cruelty. I wanted to throw something, no, I wanted to break something. Him, preferably. But instead, I forced myself to stand there, still as stone. My heart was pounding so violently I could feel it in my fingertips. When? I asked. He looked away. 3 months ago. 3 months ago. That was before our anniversary. Before the night he kissed me in our kitchen and told me he loved me. I felt my stomach twist into something poisonous. So while you were sleeping next to me, making plans for the future, she was already carrying your child, I said, my voice trembling, not from weakness, but from the strain of holding back the explosion inside me. I am not proud of it, he said. But I cannot change it. I have to take responsibility for her and the baby. The absurdity of his words made me laugh, a sharp, humorless sound. You have not taken responsibility for me in years, Ethan. Do not act like this sudden burst of morality is noble. He stepped toward me. Claire, Do not touch me, I snapped, my voice slicing through the space like glass. That night, I did not cry. I did not beg. I did not curl up in bed like a wounded animal. I sat in the living room with a glass of wine, scrolling through my contacts until I found Jake's name. I sent one message, we are not done. The next few weeks were a blur of precision. I started seeing Jake regularly, not in a secret, guilty way, but openly. I made sure Ethan knew. If he wanted to parade Alyssa and her growing stomach around town, I would make sure he saw my new reality too. Jake was fire, reckless, unfiltered, and exactly the kind of man who made me forget Ethan existed. He touched me like I was the center of the universe, like I was worth every risk. I knew part of it was performance, and I welcomed it. But this was not just about lust anymore. It was about dismantling Ethan's life piece by piece. I started with the joint accounts. Quietly, methodically, I moved half into a separate account under my name. Legally mine. He never noticed, too busy playing doting father-to-be. Next, I called our realtor and put the lake house on the market. It had been my parents' gift when we married, which meant the title was in my name alone. Within 3 weeks it was sold, and the money sat in my account, untouchable by him. The final strike came one Friday evening when I invited Ethan and Alyssa over for closure. He hesitated, but curiosity got the better of him. When they walked in, Alyssa smiled that smug, glowing smile that only women with an upper hand seem to perfect. I poured drinks. Jake was already there, leaning against the counter like he owned the place. Ethan froze. What is he doing here? I smiled sweetly. Moral support. You brought yours. The tension was a living thing in the room. I made polite conversation with Alyssa, complimenting her dress, asking how she was feeling. All the while I could feel Ethan's eyes on me, narrowing with suspicion. Finally, I leaned forward, my tone casual. Oh, by the way, Ethan, you might want to check your email. I sent you a copy of the divorce papers. And a little something extra. His brows furrowed. The little something extra, I continued, is the proof that your company has been, shall we say, creative with its accounting. I came across it while doing our taxes last year. I was not planning to use it. But then, I let my gaze drift to Alyssa's belly. Life happens. Alyssa's face paled. What is she talking about? Ethan's jaw tightened. She is bluffing. I sipped my wine. Try me. The room went quiet. I could almost hear the walls shifting under the weight of what I had just dropped. Ethan knew I was not bluffing. And Alyssa? She looked like she was already calculating her next move without him. When they left, the silence felt different, not heavy this time, but clean. The kind of silence that follows a storm after it has torn everything apart. Jake slid his arm around my shoulders. Feel better? I thought about it. About Ethan's face, about Alyssa's sudden discomfort, about the email sitting in his inbox like a ticking bomb. Yes, I said finally. But I am not done yet. Because revenge is not a single act. It is a slow burn. And I intended to keep the fire alive until there was nothing left of the man who thought he could discard me. If you have ever survived betrayal, heartbreak, or a moment that forced you to reclaim your power, share your story in the comments. Your voice might be the one that helps someone else find their strength. Like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who needs to remember, they are not powerless.